Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. And my favorite part is the variety and how easy the meals are to make. How about meals like cheesy chicken, black bean enchiladas with salsa verde, maple gravy smothered pork chops with stewed collard greens and sweet potatoes, spiced cauliflower and pepper with jasmine rice and cilantro yogurt sauce. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within the year. You're never going to get bored. You can customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options, so you choose what you need and when it fits your schedule. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. I've done it, and if I can do it, you can. Very easy. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Mike and Mike on a Monday, the final Monday in October, and my goodness, everything is going on. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. A comeback for the ages on Saturday that will certainly reverberate at least into tomorrow night's college football playoff rankings and beyond, and probably again when we start giving out the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year. An incredible Sunday with what happened off the field, what happened on the field, and everything else in football. And, of course, it culminates last night in a marathon baseball thriller that the Astros win 13-12 to take a 3-2 lead back to L.A.
Yeah, and on all different levels, from the college level to Ohio State, Penn State, and that incredible game. You had obviously the World Series game as well, going 10 innings with 25 runs being scored. And then you had Houston and Seattle. You had NFL games. Again, coming to the end of the first games on the Red Zone channel, you just had like three games, I think it was, that were just going back and forth. It was just incredible. And then you had this game after that. There's only 2 games. It was a 2.
There were only 2 in the 4 p.m. Eastern time slot.
But
they were both good. It was Dallas, Washington, and it was Houston, Seattle.
Houston, Seattle was, again, off the backdrop of what had gone on with Houston and their owner, Bobnick there, and the players making sure what they were going to do united, and they did, and you saw just about all of them kneeling in unity before the game for that. And to not let that for O'Brien, the head coach, that had to be some, to massage that from the player side and then the ownership side for him. He's right in the middle of that to get his team ready to play. A great team in Seattle with a great defense, with a rookie quarterback, and did the rookie quarterback perform in a losing effort, to Seattle. But boy, what a great game that was.
Yeah, and as far as this feels to me like a circumstance where the players just kind of took over the situation.
Yeah.
In a way that the owner was kind of suggesting they shouldn't be allowed to the other day. And look, I don't know Bob McNair at all, but I mean, the second apology, very difficult to take some of the things that are being said and done there. And as far as the players are concerned, I said it in the previous hour, and look, I didn't play, you did. You know better than me. But they work for the owner. They play for each other.
Yeah,
and that's what we saw. That looked like a game where they said, okay, we're going to make our statement. Yeah. We're going to do our thing. Then the heck with him.
And we're going to play.
We're going to go out and play our game for ourselves. And they almost won in what was an unbelievable game.
Who did we hear the other day from talking about Joe Girardi, that it was a little overblown? The players were playing for Joe.
Yes, we heard that from a lot of people.
Listen, I can absolutely go with that. In that locker room, when you hear, they're playing for the coach, that's an ancillary thing. You're playing for each other. So whatever you thought of what Bob McNair said, what the players did in response to that, they were together with it. And that you're exactly right. And Jeff Saturday said the same thing. Players play for one another. They're the ones outside of your family you're with the most. You're not playing for a coach. You're not playing for an owner. Hell, most of the time you rarely meet the owner. Let's be honest. It's a name on your check. You're playing
I
for
feel like
one
they're
another.
more involved now. Like
It very well could be.
Because in your day,
well, here's the other thing.
I had an owner too.
I was an average player as well. I wasn't one that was going to be, the owner wasn't going to search me out. If the owner was coming around, then that owner was going to go more toward the stars.
And so for the most part, it was Norman Braman, right? And
when I was
he
Philly,
ever even in the United States?
Not around a long time. No.
Yeah, he was an owner.
When I was in Houston, it was Bud Adams there. So. And again, I was only a first and second year player there, so it's not like the owner was seeking me out or anything like that. But to your point, maybe today owners are around more. It seems like they are. But back to the original point, that's what the players do. The players decided we're going to all decide together what we're going to do. And they decided, for the most part, just about all of them, to kneel and show unity, and then they go play the game. This is what we do. This is why we have the blood, sweat, and tears, is we're going to go play the game. And we're playing for one another, and they fell a little short in this game, but boy, what an entertaining game it was.
Mike and Mike brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Upgrade to shaving with a fresh blade whenever you want for a fraction of the price. Join DollarShaveClub.com today. Let's start there off the top. What a game indeed it was. And Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson each throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So it was and look, Wilson is not a story to the extent that he's a great player. They couldn't run the ball at all yesterday. He had 30 of their 33 rushing yards for the Seahawks. But that's not a surprise. He's a great player. Deshaun Watson is too. Deshaun Watson is not doing great things for a rookie. Deshaun Watson has become a great NFL player in 6 games.
First player in NFL history with 400 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes, and 50 yards or more in rushing yards. First rookie in NFL history with at least 3 passing touchdowns in 4 straight games. By the way, both quarterbacks were the leading rushers for their teams. This was the 6th time in NFL history opposing quarterbacks threw for 400. Here's the other ones. The last time was 2013, Big Ben and Tom Brady. And then 2013 as well, Tony Romo, Peyton Manning. 2012, Stafford and Matt Flynn. 1994, this is when you get your repeats. Drew Bledsoe, Dan Marino. 1986, Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien.
Yeah. That was the Marino O'Brien game, which was the first time that it ever happened, is a legendary game in the Jet-Dolphin rivalry's history. As far as Deshaun Watson is concerned, all I'm hearing are from all of my Jet fan friends. It's not just the Browns who passed on him.
Oh, yeah.
The Jets, who desperately needed a quarterback and desperately need a quarterback, took a safety in Jamal Adams at number 6, and he's a great player.
Yes,
he's going to have a great career.
I agree with that.
But it just shows you the value of a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is going to regret passing on this guy. Dabo Swinney is going to wind up being exactly right. And look, the Chiefs took Patrick Mahomes, traded up to take Patrick Mahomes ahead of him. The Bears traded up to take Mitchell Trubisky ahead of him, and let's see what he's going to turn out to be. It's much too early. Too early to write the story on any of these guys.
If only either one of us had the foresight to say he should have been the first quarterback.
Well, you said it. You were exactly right. And I'll tell you what, he's just got it.
He just does. Of all the breakdown that I do with players, that was the one line that I said. Sometimes you just have it, and you just have that instinct to make the read, get yourself out of trouble. He did throw 3 interceptions. So, and occasionally that is going to happen, no doubt about it. But he does. He just has that it about him, and he absolutely has control of that team.
All right, next, the other game in that slot was Dallas-Washington. It was also a very interesting game and a very important one, and the Cowboys get the win to put themselves really as the team giving chase to Philadelphia in that NFC East. And Zeke Elliott, after sort of a sluggish start to his season, has put together back-to-back big games.
I think not only Zeke Elliott, but that offensive line sluggish. The first 4 games, Zeke has turned around the first 4. 21 times running the ball to like 30 yards per rush, 3.7 to 5.0. Rushing TDs 2 to 4. I think that O-line has, because that O-line for them in Oakland, we consider the 2 best. They had both struggled early on. And, Zeke wasn't getting the yards he normally gets. Part of that, the line, part of that Zeke. But they seem to be meshing at the right point because this rushing attack is really hitting their stride right now.
So we know that Philadelphia swept the season series from Washington.
Right.
And with Washington now 3-4 and the Eagles running away, that feels like there's no way in the world the Skins catch them.
Right.
Could the Cowboys catch them? The Cowboys feel like they're getting on a little bit of a roll.
I agree. I think they're starting to play better. They're getting some good pass rushing on that D-line, and they got that running game going, which certainly is going to help the passing game. So that would be the team. They're sitting there a couple of games behind, 4-3 as Philly, 7-1. But I agree with you. If anybody's going to, that would be the team.
Both teams are unbeaten in the division at this point. That's going to be a real interesting chart
Off the top,
as the season goes. Last night, if you were watching the baseball, then you missed the Steelers and the Lions, an interesting game in Detroit. Pittsburgh gets the win, and it was the Juju Smith-Schuster show, which I think lends some question to whether or not they would consider trading Martavis Bryant if they get an offer of some real significance. And we saw all these reports yesterday about Martavis Bryant.
Yeah.
And we'll have Mort in here off the top of the next hour. If someone offers him something of consequence, I wonder if they wouldn't consider making that deal.
But I would wonder why. To Adam Schefter's point, why? I mean, you could trade him in the offseason. It's
true.
So, I mean, why? You have a long season right to go. What don't we know can happen? Someone
People
getting injured.
Hurt. Sure.
There's no way I would trade away that asset.
Well, we always envision trades as being for a draft pick.
Yes.
Maybe there's a player out there they could trade for that would be meaningful to them. Is there what is their weakness right now?
What the defense is playing a lot better right now. Certainly every team has weakness. I do understand what you're saying. To me, there's no way I would trade him. You heard him say,
I agree.
I'm not saying anything more. I'm going to be that team guy. You won't hear anything out of me. He had his punishment. Let him come back. And if he makes a catch or two or more, that's only going to benefit this team. There was no way I would trade. It's not like they're going to get blown out of the water with some kind of offer for him either. So, and if you want to trade him in the offseason.
I'll say this, though. This Juju Smith-Schuster, what is he, 20 years old?
20 years old.
Holy
Next
smoke,
month,
is he good.
He turns 21. 7 catches, 193 yards, had the 97-yarder last night. Really impressive.
I mean, with him on one side, and obviously Brown and Bell, and you've got Martavis Bryant.
Yeah.
They are
and to me, the most important thing is that defense is playing a lot better.
Off the top.
The Cavaliers stink. How did that happen? Kristaps Porzingis went nuts last night, and the Knicks blew out the Cavs in Cleveland last night.
How about this? It's the second time this season the Warriors and the Cavs, who everybody thinks is going to meet in the finals, have lost on the same day. Second time this season already. It happened 3 times all season last year. And the Cavs now have 4 losses. They're 0-4 this season against teams that missed the playoffs. Knicks, Pelicans, Nets, and Magic. Ty Lue not happy after this last loss to the Knicks. It has not been good. But we're 7-8 games into the season for teams, so I don't think there's any panic time just about yet.
No, but, you start to wonder, is it possible there's some issues here in the chemistry or in the mix or whatever it is? You keep mixing and matching.
Not only
all
you have
pieces.
chemistry, but you have age and past injury mixed into the chemistry.
Yeah, they're the oldest team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And that won't help either. Look, they'll get this thing figured out. They'll still be right there at the end. But the question is,
they're not in it to just be there at the end. They're in it to try and win it.
Yeah, they got to get Isaiah Thomas back. We'll see what happens.
Top.
Florida and Jim McElway have parted ways. At the beginning of this season, he was 16-3 against conference opposition. Now, all of a sudden, he's out of a job. Clearly, there was some sort of a conflict here. I'll let you get into that, Mike. The part of it that still really steams me, and I would imagine you too, as a father who sent kids off to play college football, that this was negotiated. So this was obviously going on between the athletic department and the coach, and no one told the players. The players found out about this, they say, on Twitter. And that, to me, is just... I don't even know what the word for it is. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it starts to go out on Twitter, you know things are going to get out. So is there a side that says, let's not bring in the player just yet? If we're negotiating about what does it matter if the players know that? Don't let them be distracted with that. They got a big game. Let them go play the game. There's that thinking, and I can understand that thinking. But in this day and age, you can't keep things in like that because they start to get out. The talk of a buyout before that game even happened, that starts to get out. Now players are reading that. So it turns out to be bad. I can see if you could truly keep it from the players because what are they going to do? If you're getting ready to play Georgia and you hear there might be a buyout, what good would it do, in all honesty, to tell the players before the game or during that week? But to your point, I think you are correct. To try and keep things away when they get out in the social media world is almost impossible right now. And he's had headbutting with the AD and with the athletic department. It has been a difficult relationship there. How about this, though? Since Florida is now seeking its 5th head coach since Spurrier left following the 2001 season. That's going to tie Ole Miss for the most full-time head coaches in the SEC since 2002.
Oh, by the way, one of them was Urban Meyer, and he won 2 national championships. So that one didn't work out badly. But the thing I'll say about this with regard to the players is, so I'm just trying to picture myself being a player on that team. there are these reports that come out that say that they're looking to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. Then the athletic director comes out and denies that. I mean, steadfastly issues a statement of denial, which makes you wonder, did they say anything like that to the players?
Right.
You got to believe some of the players are asking questions.
Sure they are.
And then the next thing you know, it's a Sunday, you've just gotten crushed by Georgia, and you're seeing on Twitter, oh, the coach is fired.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bad situation.
I get what you're saying. It's a horrible situation, but I can understand you not wanting the players have to deal with any thought of that before that game. But
the game ended on Saturday, and this happened on Sunday.
No, I know.
At some point Sunday, someone should have told them before it became public.
Yeah, that I would agree with. Yeah.
And then finally, the World Series has been unbelievable. Let's make that off the top, presented by Shell Pennzoil. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. The numbers are unbelievable coming out of last night's World Series game. It lasted 5 hours and 17 minutes. Alex Bregman has had an RBI in every game of this series. He had his first career walk-off hit last night. There were 7 home runs in the game. There have been 22 home runs in this series. There have been, 101 home runs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What an incredible baseball postseason this has been.
Yeah, most home runs in the regular season, as we said, most in the postseason, 101, most in the World Series with 22. It has been absolutely incredible. 5 for Houston last night. Houston had to come back from 3 deficits. Both teams came back from 3-run deficits. Houston did it twice. And then the Dodgers did it when they were down 12-9 going into the 9th inning. They got a 2-run shot from Yasiel Puig and then another run to tie it up to go to the 10th inning before the RBI single. Just amazing, though. But this, again, this is a Kershaw-Keuchel matchup that we saw in Game 1 when Kershaw was lights out. Keuchel even pitched pretty well in that game, but Kershaw, they got the win, and Kershaw got the headline, deservedly so. But this one was decidedly different as Kershaw gave up 6 runs going into the 5th inning, and Keuchel gave up 4 runs going into the 4th inning, and now you're in your bullpens. To which David Ross, who I agree with you, has been fantastic addition here at ESPN as an analyst, is saying these bullpens are just getting absolutely worn out.
Let's play it. Here he was on the field last night.
With the starters that are out there are good for a reason, and we want to take them out where they give up 1 hit, 1 run. We're so eager to go to that bullpen lately, and now those things are paying off. These guys have nothing, and sheer determination they're out there pitching.
Right.
And you got to give some credit to both lineups. These guys are grinding at bats. They never say die.
Right.
All those cliches, but I think the bullpens are getting overused.
I mean, I think that's a great point. Think about the Dodgers, what they had. They had Clayton Kershaw on the mound, and he gets them the win. Then they have Rich Hill, where they say we want to use our bullpen. So you got to the bullpen with the lead, right? With the lead. I mean, just what you want with that bullpen, and they lose the game. And then you get Kershaw again in this one, and he gives up 6 runs, goes to the bullpen, and they're giving up run after run after run. I mean, that's a great point by Ross. So this was a decided edge, everybody said, was the bullpen, Dodgers over the Astros in this series, and it certainly hasn't shown.
If they lose this series, if Justin Verlander takes the ball tomorrow night in L.A. and never gives it back and pitches a great game and Houston wins, if you're a Dodger fan, what you're going to remember is you had Kenley Jansen on the mound with a lead in Game 1 in the 9th inning, and you had Clayton Kershaw.
Game 2.
What did I say? Yes, Game 2.
Game
Sorry.
2, yep.
Game 1 was Kershaw. Game 2. However it is you got there, and I get that they took Rich Hill out too early. However it is you got there, you have the lead and the ball in your closer's hands in the 9th inning of Game 2. And then last night, you've got Clayton Kershaw with a 4-run lead and the ball in his hands on the mound. You're supposed to win those games.
Yes, you are.
And if you don't, then that's how you lose World Series.
It's going to hurt Kershaw's legacy, is it not?
I think if they don't come back and win the series, it does. It does.
They go to 7, he gets a chance to get in there and throw some innings again and does incredibly well. That could certainly help it, no doubt, but
that's what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning him. They got to get through Verlander tomorrow.
Yeah, they do.
And look, you and I both picked Astros in 6, so we'll see. Maybe Verlander will make us right. But I have no horse in the race. I'm rooting for 7 games. If it winds up in a Game 7, I don't think there's any question we'll see Kershaw out of the bullpen. I mean,
I completely agree.
If the circumstances warranted.
Game 7, I mean, are you kidding?
That's when you became these legends become legends. Randy Johnson in 2001 and Madison Bumgarner a few years ago and everything else. So I would be very surprised if we don't see that. Let's see if they're able to get through Verlander tomorrow. We'll talk about it with Jessica Mendoza shortly. Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And so just to take it through the entirety of the sports weekend, the Penn State-Ohio State game is a classic. That is one of the genuinely great comebacks when you consider what was at stake, where the game was being played, and everything else. It has, A, an enormous impact on the Heisman race.
Yes, it does.
And B, an equally enormous impact on the national championship race.
Without a doubt. And J.T. Barrett, what he did was 33 of 39 for the game. What was he in the fourth? Did you say 16 of 16 in the fourth quarter? 19-3, they outscored Penn State in the fourth quarter. And I said I would worry if Ohio State had to pass themselves into the game because I wasn't sold on J.T. Barrett as a passer. He sure shut me up for this game, no doubt about it. He had a monster game. I think you couple that with Penn State, to me, played not to lose. Instead of playing to win, they played not to lose. And Ohio State took full advantage of that, which isn't shocking for an Urban Meyer team, and came out with a win. What an exciting game that was. To me, J.T. Barrett should – I believe you – Hembo, did you say Saquon Barkley
that was the second best Heisman odds behind
I don't buy that at all. Saquon Barkley has been held in check 3 times now. Your Northwestern team did it once.
He did run a kickback for a touchdown in this game.
He did. But Indiana held him to 50-some yards. They had 41 yards, I think, rushing against Ohio State. He did return the opening kickoff again for a touchdown. So I get it. And he is a great player. But we know what the Heisman can be based around where your team is, what they're doing, and how you're playing in big moments especially. And J.T. Barrett just absolutely big-footed a big moment right there without question.
Flip the script. If Ohio State loses one more game, they still would be in position to represent their half of the Big Ten in the Big Ten championship game. And they beat Penn State.
Right.
But Penn State could wind up, if everything kind of works out the way it could, it's not inconceivable that if Ohio State loses one more game along the way, Penn State could still wind up making the CFP.
Like Ohio State did last year.
Exactly the way. It would be the exact same thing as last year, but in reverse.
In reverse.
And it would be extraordinarily ironic if it happened that way. We'll see. The trouble for Penn State is they need another big win, and they don't have one left on their schedule. They've had all the big wins they're going to have.
And there's Wisconsin sitting there, and everybody's going to say, well, you haven't really played anybody at this point, and they won't say that until if and when they may beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game if both teams get there.
What would really hurt them is if Ohio State loses another game.
Without question.
They would then be playing a 2-loss Ohio State. There is a scenario, it's not inconceivable, where Wisconsin could run the table, could play an undefeated season in the Big Ten and wind up being left out.
Yeah, if they played a 2-loss Ohio State team in the Big Ten championship and won.
Their best win is against Northwestern.
Yeah.
I mean, Northwestern's a good team.
Going to get interesting.
They have 3 losses.
But remember, don't worry if your team's not in the first 4 tonight. Because what is it, only 2 times? Or tomorrow night. I keep saying tonight. Tomorrow night. That 2 teams normally is the most that's ever stayed from the first Final 4 until the last Final 4. So don't be. Just look for positioning. If you're not in the 4, how close are you to the 4? To me, that's going to be the key.
All right, all that and more on the table on this jam-packed Monday as we set the table for you. Up next, again, what did last night mean for Clayton Kershaw's legacy? What do the Dodgers have to do to get back in the World Series? And are these bullpens overused? Those questions and more. Unbelievable drama in the World Series headed to Game 6 in Los Angeles, and so is Jessica Mendoza. She'll be there for our coverage, but first she stopped in here on about an hour and a half sleep. Good morning, Jessica.
Come on, are you kidding me? How do you go to sleep after that game last night?
It's your time of year, right? This is it.
This is when you don't sleep, you stay up, but these games have been epic in themselves, even for the World Series.
And for the fans of the Dodgers, maybe what will make you lose sleep if you don't come back and win this series, I've been saying it all morning, are the 2 missed opportunities. You've got Jansen on the mound in Game 2 with the lead in the 9th inning and you lose. You've got Kershaw on the mound last night with a 4-run lead and you lose. How do you explain that?
I feel like that's the one. Clayton Kershaw, coming in with a 4. I would have put any amount of money that there was no way the Astros would come back on the greatest pitcher in the planet. But the biggest thing, and where I feel like I felt like he came out too early. I felt like that they should have stuck. And we've seen Kenta Maeda come in because the analytics, and I'm an analytics person, but the book says Maeda matches up really well against the big righties of the Astros. But it's Clayton Kershaw. And at some point, even though I know he gave up some runs, if you look back on it, don't you want your best guy, the one that's going to figure out a way instead of your tired Kenta Maeda? This team has now seen a whole heck of a lot to get in there in that moment.
Well, so that's my question then. What's the cumulative effect we've seen now going into a Game 6 with both of these teams, but mainly with the Dodgers and especially that bullpen.
I think we're seeing the domino effects, especially of Game 3. Yu Darvish coming out in that second inning, Kenta Maeda coming in, Brandon Morrow, the two really the biggest guys that bridged to Kenley Jansen. And we saw Kenley Jansen tired too. But the domino effects of the decisions that are made earlier in this series are now catching up to both teams. I mean, think about it. Both teams in this Game 5 gave up 15 runs between the bullpens. 15 runs between these two bullpens. I kind of like it, though, because we get to where now it is offense, and it's not just put in a pitcher, get this guy out, put in the next. It's like, all right, who's going to hit, who's going to get the next run, back and forth. It was fun to watch.
Let's go back to Kershaw. If he doesn't get another chance, and of course we've seen Randy Johnson with redemption in a Game 7 of a World Series, and obviously a couple of years ago Bumgarner. But if he doesn't get another chance, this was the playoffs that Kershaw had sort of redeemed himself. They were 4-0 in his starts leading into last night. And then whether he should have stayed out there or not longer, he didn't. So what will all of this mean? What will the sum total of this postseason be for Kershaw?
Unfortunately, that he won't. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer right now today. There's no question about it. His Game 1 was an amazing start. Unfortunately, I mean, first of all, it feels like a year ago. Mm-hmm. But secondly, if they don't win the World Series, and because of this game, now granted, I think he's gotten past the fact that it was really an awful postseason pitcher as far as the numbers heading into this postseason. He has been fantastic until this Game 5 where he did give up 4 runs. And unfortunately, that's the one thing he hasn't done. Again, greatest pitcher on the planet, but he needed to be big in a big game. I hope that he gets another opportunity, whether it's Game 7 coming out of the bullpen, something, because you want to see Clayton Kershaw at least have another moment.
We keep talking about how much the postseason is different in baseball than any of the other sports. It's, those starting pitchers. And then now, boy, that bullpen, that you have. But are we seeing, because of a record in season home runs, a record in postseason home runs, a record in World Series home runs, that it's not the pitchers so much, it's the sticks that Houston has?
Especially once you get further into the series. I mean, think about Game 1. Think about even Game 2 early. I mean, these games, Game 4, you think about Alex Wood and Charlie Morton shutting down both offenses. As you get into the bullpens now and these guys see each other, I mean, it's a different game. And then I think the bullpens come in too early. I love the analytics, like I said, but I feel like when you've seen these guys so much because they're coming in so early, give your starters a chance. Let them stay in there. But the home runs, this has been going on all season long, and obviously last night.
On balls that look like pop-ups, quite honestly.
They are pop-ups. Yeah. Carlos Correa's 48-degree launch angle. What that means is basically he got right underneath it. We've never seen a launch angle that high. 169 feet was the apex of the home. This is my nerdness, all right, coming out right now, okay? We've never seen a fly ball higher in baseball, okay? And it was a home run. Now, the Crawford boxes helped that, which is the shallow porch in Houston. But that ball should have never been a home run.
Well, look, and to put it into golf terms, which I'm very fond of, 48-degree launch angle is a pitching wedge. Yes. He had a pitching wedge into the left field seats last night, and I'm convinced it's the ball. And I was reading this thing yesterday, and you and I were talking during the break here. You were explaining to me a little bit about this new idea that the balls are slicker, and obviously I don't know that, but it feels to me like you watch the ball, and the ball that Puig hit last night as well. To me, the ball is juiced, and I don't care. I don't even say that as a negative way. People think I'm making an accusation. Craig Biggio wanted nothing to do with this conversation with us on Friday, and I get it, because then all of a sudden the whole world is saying, Craig Biggio says the ball is juiced. But look, if baseball wanted some more offense and they made the ball a little tighter or whatever it is you do, I don't have a problem with that.
Everyone's been saying it all season long. And if you've heard guys come out, whether it was July, whether it was August, and obviously now in the postseason, we've seen these epic home run. And we've heard that the balls are slicker, but really the balls have been, I don't know if you want to call it juice. It's a different result. And you can say it's because guys are changing their swings. You can say a bunch of different things. But if you get in the clubhouse, which I've been, everybody, it's a fact to them. And they're kind of okay with it now. The seams are different and the balls are different.
I was just going to ask, you're a baseball person. Would you, if we find out, they're different, would you have a problem with it?
It depends on if they're still legal. I mean, there's basically the parameters of what a baseball needs to be. And what MLB has come out and said is that they still meet those same standards. If that's the truth, because there is some variance within there, how tight the baseball can be. Maybe these baseballs are tighter than they've ever been. The seams have some variance in how high or low they can be. I don't know about the slickness of the leather. I don't think they have measurements for that. But to me, as long as they're within the standards, it's a different ball. Go with it.
I think No question. It was Tom Brady. I think the balls are too tight, and I think that we got to get Ted Wells and we got to do an investigation.
Sounds over there? That's
Jessica Mendoza with us in studio.
The
Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contract. So Verlander gets the ball in Game 6. There have been games in this postseason, and it's something we've almost forgotten what it looks like, where they gave him the ball and he never gave it back. Obviously, Game 2 was not that. What do you expect from Verlander tomorrow night with a chance to close out what would be his first championship?
I expect something special, just because there has been something special about him in a Houston uniform. They go out and get him, and he changes this team. In fact, Bregman, you notice that dog pile when he walks off, Verlander gets in there in a way, and Bregman's eyes just go to him, like almost like, Dad. Like, you know, that feeling of just like the guy that I feel like these young 23-year-olds are trying to impress as well. He's had an influence on this team. So it's not even so much that he's going to go out and dominate. I don't expect that. It's just the way the Astros have his back, the way that they do play. But keep your eye on Rich Hill. I mean, he's somebody that I feel like got pulled too early in Game 2. He had some sick stuff with his curveball. I don't know if he'll be able to replicate that, but he got pulled too early before I felt like he got to define what would have been a really great Game 2.
Completely agree. And it's what I brought up. I was surprised, but I know Eduardo Perez was sitting here before that game, the morning before, and said, that's the game plan. And then my thought is, okay, that's a game plan, but does gut come into play? And so I'll ask you this. If he's in there and he's in the 4th inning and he has 7 strikeouts and he's dealing, do you think they take him out again?
I think they do, and I feel like I haven't seen them vary from the game plan. It doesn't mean you can't do it in Game 6, but what I credit A.J. Hinch on the other side of doing, when Brad Peacock came in and he closed out in 3.5 innings, there was a plan for him to not do that. There was a plan analytically for him to throw a certain amount to certain batters and for someone else, whether it was Davinsky, whether it was Harris, to come in. He read the stuff that Peacock had. And granted, his slider wasn't even working. It was literally just his fastball. And A.J. Hinch made the decision, you know what? I'm going old school. I'm actually just going to feel that this pitcher is legit instead of looking at my book to dictate the rest of this game.
Mike and Mike, Jessica Mendoza is here. Final thought. One of those who played a big role in the win last night for the Astros is Yuli Gurriel, who, of course, was involved in the incident on Friday night. And by now, everyone is aware, suspended 5 games, but they will take place at the beginning of next year's regular season rather than during the World Series. Do you think that baseball got that right?
No. They got it wrong. They got it wrong. And I said this 2 days ago. They should have suspended him. And there has not been a player suspended during the World Series. And I believe that because of the stage that Yuli Gurriel did that, it's wrong. And I really highly believe that message needed to be sent. I said it. And I feel like Rob Manfred and MLB got it wrong because this is something that 5 games next season, I'm sorry, but Yuli Gurriel, no one's paying attention. No one's paying attention to that name in that moment in the beginning of next season when they have 162 games. They're paying attention right now. He had a huge home run to tie this game. He has been dynamic, 350 hitter in this World Series alone. The statement had to be made. More importantly for me, I'm a mom, I have kids. I want that message to be out there. You make a mistake, I get it. There's repercussions, and they happen today. They don't happen 4 months from now.
You know, when he hit that shot, the first thing I thought was, I said, Manfred can't be happy that he just hit a 3-run home run when many people thought he shouldn't have been playing in that game. What did you think of their reasons? That the baseball's reason said, we wanted salary to be involved, and he'll miss salary if he misses the games next year. We don't want the team to be punished. So first 5 games of a 162-game schedule, the team won't be punished. Like in the World Series, the team would be punished. You don't buy any of those.
We've all been part of a team. And
yes.
You make decisions based. I made decisions as an Olympian based on my own political views and things I wanted to do, and I had to not or do them because I was part of a team. There was a camera there. He knew what he was doing. He might not have meant to be disrespectful. And this isn't so much even against Yuli. It's more if you make a mistake and something that's offensive. And by the way, Yu Darvish was offended. He handled it very well, but he said he was offended. And so many people were. I believe that if that happens, I don't care if it affects the team. You're on a team, you make a decision, that's the repercussion. Just like George Springer decides to dive for a ball and he misses it. You don't not have a punishment because it affects the whole team.
Right.
That's what you're a part of.
Listen, I was surprised because I thought if you're going to make a punishment, what good is the effect of it if you're waiting to make it instead of punishing someone?
Do you think anyone
right
is
going
to be aware of Yuli Gurriel sitting out 5 games at the beginning of next season?
No, they're not. I was surprised that they did that. If you're going to punish someone, I would punish him. and you punish them right away. When
how do you punish your kids? Do you tell them, hey, you know what? In 4 months from now, you'll be grounded.
Next April, boy, will you regret
watch
this.
Out. Yeah,
Jess Mendoza on her way out to L.A. for all of our coverage of Game 6, and then. Listen, I don't have a horse in the race. I hope Game 7 coming up as the week continues.
There needs to be a Game 7. Yeah. I'm going back to LA and I'm doing it for 7 games. Let's. I mean, come on, this series. How does it not go to 7?
Where are you from?
I'm from LA.
Okay,
fair enough. Great job, Jessica. Safe travels. Thank you very much, as always.
Games. Come on.
John Brannon tweets at us: unbelievable World Series game last night, but lost me and tons of fans around midnight. It's Sunday. Why not start the game earlier?
Look, it's a yearly conversation.
Yeah, there is. Obviously, research, and it's not a mystery, that the ratings of these games are at their highest between, I believe, 10 o'clock Eastern Time and 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's when they want them to be on. There was a time when I wanted to be the next commissioner of Major League Baseball. You remember early in the tenure of this show, Greeny for commissioner was like a common bit that we were doing. And one of the things I said then, and I'd say it now, is one of my campaign planks was all postseason weekend games will start in daylight. They'll all start in the daylight hours. But that's not going to happen because
no, it's not. The ratings
television
are better
networks want that,
exactly,
and that's all
right.
there is to it. Now, are you robbing from Peter to pay Paul? Is there a generation of kids that are not, my kids have never seen the end of a World Series game? Never. And as a consequence, they're not all that interested in watching the World Series games. And I hope that doesn't wind up having ramifications in the future. I certainly remember watching World Series games that were played in the daytime in my childhood, and so do you.
As long as the networks are paying the kind of money they're paying and partnering up with baseball, they want to get the buck for their return, and that's advertising dollars, and they're going to get them in prime time more than they are at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And what I will say about Rob Manfred's decision on Yuli Gurriel, and we just had Jessica Mendoza in here, and she had a pretty strong take on it, and I respect that greatly, is I respect the way Manfred explained it. You know, whether you agree or disagree.
Do you agree with it?
I think I disagree. But I like that he got up there and he said, this was what my judgment determined to be the best thing.
Right.
He didn't put it on anybody else. He didn't say, well, he didn't make any, he didn't equivocate. He said, in my judgment, this was the right reaction. I understand that people will disagree, but this was, so he took it. He basically took it on himself.
Yes, he did.
So he's basically saying, if you disagree, you're disagreeing with me. He didn't say, I put together a committee.
Right.
He just said, this was my decision.
Right.
If you disagree with me, disagree with me.
Yeah, this is one of those, there had to be a decision right away. You couldn't have time to have some investigation in a committee. And it wasn't something that needed any of that. We all saw what happened. We all saw what he did. So you just decide, okay, we don't accept this. We don't want this. So you're suspended. It just, and I agree with everything you said. It just seems odd as we can't take that. This is horrible. We can't have this. This can't be any part of baseball. We'll suspend you next year.
Yes. Well, my point is you can disagree with the decision.
Yes.
I'm not saying I agree with the decision, but what I'm saying is I like that he didn't, they had an easy out here, right? The easy out is suspend him now. Don't hear the appeal.
Right.
Those things can be arranged however you want them to be arranged. And the appeal would have taken him through the World Series.
And then he's still suspended at the beginning of next year.
So that would have been a piece of cake. I mean, you could have done that.
Could you really? I guess it comes down to, do you want to send a message or not? Because you could also, if you want to send a message, say, if he appeals it right away, say, we're hearing the appeal right away. We're doing this right now. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So by you saying baseball getting out of this, then are we really that aggravated with what he did? Are we
I think
mad about it? Is it really the worst thing ever if we're going to try and find a way to push it off to next year?
I think what we've learned, they didn't want to suspend him in the World Series.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Right.
You can slice that up any way you want. But what came through loud and clear, they didn't want to suspend him in the World Series.
Agreed.
So what I'm saying is you could have done that in a different way if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. You could have suspended him, said he's suspended for a World Series game, then not hear the appeal. And
I
then
think everybody would have saw through that as well.
But at least you would have given yourself some sort of plausible deniability, which, again, he didn't do. He got up there and said, this is my decision, my call. If you disagree, you're disagreeing with me. I respect that in a leader. I think that's what a leader is supposed to do.
Listen, I'm glad he stepped up and said it was his doing. We just disagree with it. So
correct. So and you know who you're disagreeing with now. Is just sort of to wrap up the point that I was making. And then I don't know what to expect from the rest of this series. If there's one thing that's clear is you cannot be thinking to yourself, I'm going to get 4 innings out of Rich Hill, and then we're going to be good tomorrow. I really don't think that if you're Dave Roberts, you can go into tomorrow night with that mentality.
And we have no idea.
Don't.
Who knows if he's going to throw the way he did in that game, too. Again, 4 innings, 7 strikeouts. What did he give up? 1 run, I think, at that point. I mean, he was dealing, and they pulled him. And you could see him in the dugout. He wasn't happy about that. So I have no idea if he's going to throw that well again, and we'll see what we get out of Verlander.
Okay. We're going to have a really unfortunate and disturbing story coming out of the National Football League in just a moment, and I regret that I don't have time right now as we're going to a break, but we will be right back off the top of the next hour. Stay with us on Mike and Mike.